Welcome to the Inquiry Theory. I'm Micah.
And I'm Ethan.
And today we're doing a Navigate the Noise episode. Probably, you probably saw that when you clicked on it. So, shocker.
Yeah, surprise, surprise.
So, what are we talking about in today's news? We're doing an article, a story that's not quite breaking news. It's been out for about a day or two at the time of recording this, and probably within the week of us actually posting it. So, Ethan, what are we covering today?
We're covering the Houthi Rebels.
Houthi Rebels?
Yeah. And the fact that it just got bombed.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
By the United States.
Why would the United States bomb Houthi Rebels, Ethan?
Well, apparently, the Houthi Rebels attack trade ships.
Oh, where?
Within the Red Sea.
Okay.
Or as they're passing through, I don't know what the canal is called, or the gap or something.
Strait or something.
But anyway, so it's a very crucial shipping lane because it connects the Mediterranean Ocean to the Indian Ocean. Or the Mediterranean Sea, excuse me.
Yeah.
To the Indian Ocean, right? Which cuts, I don't even know how much time out of the traveling around Africa, right? So it saves a lot of money, saves a lot of time. So
everyone uses it.
Right, so the fact that those ships are getting attacked, people don't like it.
Yeah, so
that's what's going on, pretty much in a nutshell.
Yeah, so let's dig into the article. So what is this article telling us?
So this article, first of all, it's from independent .co.uk, and we'll have a link to it in the description of this episode. And we found this article via Ground News. And the title of the article says that U.S. and Iran-backed Houthi both vow escalation after airstrikes target rebels in Yemen. Right, so I'm assuming the Houthis are headquartered in Yemen?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, so all right, so the article covers a bit about how the Houthi rebels are vowing escalation after the U.S. They're claiming the U.S. escalated, so they're going to escalate. So it's kind of, we're going to escalate. You did it first. And who actually started what? It's, this article doesn't really go into too much detail about that. They mostly are focusing on the actual event right now, what happened. The U.S. strike killed 53 people. They're saying 5 women and 2 children included. In the capital city, basically the rebel stronghold, but the article also says this is coming from the Houthi-run health ministry. So, I mean, it's probably the same as like when they talk about the death tolls, like Gaza claiming death tolls like 100,000, and it's like
So before we get too deep into it, so essentially those are the facts of what's going on, right? And now we're gonna kind of
dispute a little bit.
Speculate a little bit, maybe.
Let me just say, 53 people. Okay, that's what the Houthis are telling us who've been killed. That's what they're saying. I don't know the number. That's the only number we have to go off of. Okay, so the U.S. strikes killed 53 people. Moving on, and we'll probably come back to that after the article. So basically, then what's going on is Marco Rubio is talking about kind of like what they're doing. They're basically trying to control which ships can go through and which can't. They're attacking the ones they don't want to go through, using missiles and drone strikes, and they're causing all sorts of chaos with that. Basically, he's also throwing a little bit of shade at the previous administration because the Biden administration, he's claiming, only did retaliatory strikes where basically a missile was launched and they destroyed the missile site, and that was it. That's what the U.S. did back a couple of years ago. Now he's like, no, we're full on, like, you can't do this.
Right.
So.
Right, and there's actually a quote in here which is kind of intense in my opinion. I'm going to read it off. It says, and I'm paraphrasing just a little bit, but it says, we're not going to have the Houthi rebels controlling which ships can go through and which ones cannot. And he said it will go on until they no longer have the capability to do that. So,
yep. So it
sounds like it's picking a pace. The escalation is rising a little bit. We've taken a stance. We being the United States. So yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah. The article then goes on to talk about how Donald Trump is basically escalating it on Truth Social by making all sorts of comments about overwhelming lethal force. You're going to be held fully accountable. And then he's also lumping Iran into it because they are Iran-backed.
Which is proven.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, as far as we can prove it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
as far as it can be proven,
you know,
they're backing them.
Right.
The U.S. government at least knows they're backing them. So
Right, for sure.
I like to believe that they have their ducks in a row, but who knows?
You know, yep, I agree. Yep.
So
As far as we know,
yeah.
let's say that.
So the Houthis are claiming that all this is in the article saying is in retaliating for Israel attack on Gaza. So a little bit explanation quick. The Houthi rebels are Islamic, so that's why they're kind of siding against Israel.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of
naturally.
So they see that war with Gaza and they're like, well, we'll do what we can to help Gaza. So they're attacking, but they're not just attacking shipping to Israel. That's not what's happening. That's their justification, but that's not what's going on. They're attacking any and everybody. So Trump was claiming he took out multiple Houthi leaders. Then basically the article continues with the Houthis are claiming they'll respond to escalation with escalation. The rebels attacked the U.S. carrier group. Doesn't say if they actually damaged it. So, I mean, they attacked. But also, let's be honest, they're attacking with drones and old missiles. So, like, they're probably not really doing a ton of damage to at least military ships.
Right.
But, I mean, that still doesn't mean they're...
that's not really the point, though.
No, yeah, they're still attacking them. So... Yeah, and then they just focus a little bit on humanitarian impact of all this. The U.S. or UN is focusing on that. But then the U.S. and Marco Rubio comes back and says, look, I mean, there's been, over 300 attacks in the last 18 months. Not just on our military ships, but also on civilian or commercial ships. So it's a pretty big thing. And this article claims, this is interesting, article claims the attack sparked the most serious combat the U.S. Navy had seen since World War II.
That's crazy.
Yeah, if that's true, which I mean, that's what they're saying.
Interesting.
Yep, and then the article just kind of finishes up with a little bit of explanation of history of strikes and stuff like that. So that's the article. That's what's been told. We kind of want to give a little bit more detail about what's going on because I think this article leaves a lot out.
Well, yeah, and I know you did some research on like the Houthi rebels.
Yeah. So
I'd like to hear about that.
Yes. All right, Ethan. Let me educate you about Houthi rebels.
Yeah, thank you.
Because I am totally an expert after 5-10 minutes of Google search.
Hey. Everybody thinks they are,
but it's at least more than this article told us. So, real quick. The Houthis claimed, one thing I want to address, the Houthis claimed that the U.S. strikes killed 2 children. The Houthis are known for using child soldiers. So, yeah, the U.S. might have killed 2 kids, but were you enlisting them as soldiers?
Right.
I don't know.
Which, and still, regrettably, regardless...
Yes.
Or regrettable, regardless.
It's not good, but at the same time, who put those kids in those situations?
Right, and you can't blame the kids, obviously.
No.
Right? But how long have they been doing that? How many other kids have?
So yes, how many children have died at the hands of the Houthis? Basically,
right.
Whether by them or for them, they've been their pawns.
Right.
Right. I mean, the Houthis have been operating since the 90s. There's all sorts of reports, and this is the thing: is there's tons of reports. A lot of it's hard to confirm because this is a lot of countries label them as terrorists. We've been calling them rebels because the article uses the term rebels. However, a lot of countries, including the U.S., some in the EU, they classify the Houthi rebels as a terrorist organization. So let that be clear.
Mm-hmm.
They also, there's reports of them abusing women, abusing children, all sorts of horrendous things. So when the terrorists want to posture as some sort of moral position of, well, we're just doing this to support Gaza and it's all because it's all Israel's fault. And then, no, I'm sorry. I don't buy that. That's my opinion. I don't buy that. If you're attacking shipping, regardless of who the shipping belong to, commercial or military, you are no longer a quote unquote rebel. You are a pirate, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So, and some data to show the impact of this, because some people might be thinking right now, because I was initially thinking when I was reading this is, okay, what is the actual impact of this? Well, they're attacking some shipping, but so far the reports say they've only killed 2 people on the ships, which is not, that's still, they've killed people. They have, and they've sunk a couple ships too. okay, so the shipping through that shipping lane, before those attacks ramped up again in 2023, the world saw about all world shipping saw about 25,000 ships go through that strait. I'm going to call it a strait. I don't know if that's the correct term for it, but from through the Red Sea, through that shipping
Strait
lane.
of Gibraltar.
Is it? I don't know.
No, I think that's under Spain. Never mind. Damn it, I thought I had it.
So they're going through the Red Sea. That is now down to 10,000. 10,000 last year.
Oh, wow. So more than halved.
Yes.
That's crazy.
So there is definitely a huge impact on the shipping lane.
Yeah.
That has economic ramifications. It has environmental ramifications because their shipping's going longer, so they're using more fuel.
Is that right? Is that why Costco ran out of eggs?
Yeah. Costco couldn't do egg shipment. So that's kind of the point I want to, a couple of things I want to say, context that the articles aren't giving, is, this is a terrorist organization, terrorist run organization. They are attacking everybody. They aren't really discriminating against, U.S. or their quote unquote enemies. They're attacking a lot and everybody. I'm sure there's some ships that they probably let go because they have to at least pretend like they're still not a full-blown pirate organization.
Well, it's 15,000 out of 10,000.
Yeah. So, so yeah, it's definitely an issue. And my opinion on it is, this might be a little harsh, but we've got a military. If the world expects us to be the world police, like it kind of has been, and we'll get into that another time about the UN and NATO and U.S. payments into it and proportionate percentages, whatever. But the U.S. has essentially been kind of like a police force for a while. If that's the role that we've taken on, then let's do it. Okay. These are terrorists that cannot keep doing what they're doing. They are damaging trade. They're damaging or killing people. They're harming all sorts of economic things going on, and they're profiting off of it, and they can't do that. So yeah, I'm kind of for a little bit of a more aggressive approach on this.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%. Yeah.
But something to keep in mind, and I know you definitely want to talk about this, is they are Iranian backed.
Yes, well so this is where it gets deep in my opinion. Like when I first read this article and the breakdown and everything, the first thing that I thought about was the fact that they were backed by Iran, right? And we know that, well, first of all, they're saying that so they're tied to Gaza, right? They've said that, right? So obviously they've already picked a side, right? So yep. Iran also supports Gaza or whatever. So anyways, Iran backs the Houthi rebels, and from what we know, China backs Iran. You know what I mean? So like,
okay, so you're thinking,
you know what I mean?
Thinking ahead.
Like if you put that tinfoil hat on, and kind of think big picture, and like macro psychology, social, I don't know what the word is, but it's kind of like it's pretty scary, dude. Like
so you're concerned about the implication of if, like, for example,
like
Trump's threatening Iran, essentially.
Right, exactly. Like he is.
Yeah,
he threatened Iran.
But he's so he's not. I wouldn't say he's like threatening them, but he's like, he's threatening them to stop aid. He's not telling them to stop something.
No, he's telling them to stop supporting him. Or he said that to Iran, not Yemen.
No, I know.
To the Houthis.
We're saying the same thing. I'm saying it. I'm kind of not doing a job of explaining what I'm thinking about it. It's like my thing is like he didn't like threaten to go attack Iran.
No.
He's like basically like you need to stop doing that, and right. Iran has yet to respond.
Right. But so yeah, my whole thing is that how deep does this go? You know what I mean?
So okay, let me get this straight. So basically, you're worried that I'm
worried that if it escalates to a certain point and we end up having to force Iran to do something.
So it's like
the
U.S. The U.S. beats up the Houthi rebels, terrorists, and then goes.
Big Brother comes.
Yeah, they go off crying to Iran.
Yep.
The U.S. beats up Iran, then Iran goes crying to China.
Right. Yeah. Big Brother goes crying to Dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're like, oh shit. And then the fucking drunk uncle over there, Russia, pops in and is like, hey, what's up, guys?
It's
I
so
got your back.
accurate as Russia is a drunk uncle.
Hey, yeah.
Drunk, shirtless, hairy uncle with a bottle of vodka.
Right. Yeah. Cigar, whatever.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah, so okay.
Pulls up on a broken down.
So why don't we have we'll have probably a full in-depth episode on that probably.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. We should.
Let's do that.
Okay.
We'll do
Yeah.
that. So use this as kind of like the preview to us doing an episode about kind of the, what's the word for it? I don't know. I don't know. This dumb way to say it, like World War III matchup. Like,
Well, I mean, like there's a little like speculation and talk out there about like the new Axis and everything. You know.
All right. Well,
So-
let's save that for a full episode.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah. So look forward to that soon.
Yeah.
So anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode. This was a news-oriented episode, obviously. We try to show you what the articles are saying and then dig past what they're saying a little bit because they're missing context in our opinion. Missing context, not necessarily portraying stuff the way I would personally. So not quite. My opinion isn't quite the same as what they're trying to do. And we just want you to be mindful of that,
Right.
When you're reading this article, don't think that just because you reach the end of the article,
Everything there is
Everything that's
to
going
know
on.
about the subject. Right.
Yep. There's more digging to be done. So that's why we encourage you to dig past headlines, do this research yourself, and don't even just listen to what we're saying. Like,
Right. For sure. Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. If any article that you come by lights a spark within you, like look into researching more about that subject. You know what I mean? Like you did with the Houthi rebels. Like you read this article and you're like, well, let me look into that a little bit more. And you found out like Houthi rebels have child soldiers. I'm like, oh, that's not good. Maybe we should bomb them.
That's not good.
Well, yeah. So
yeah, exactly. So there you go. Just showing you, how we like to proceed with the news. So
yeah.
Thank you for listening again. And you can catch us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, possibly TikTok by the time this is uploaded. We're working on that. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do the things, press the buttons. It lets us know what you like, what you don't like, what you're interested in seeing, what you're not interested in seeing, and helps us tailor what we do.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. Yeah.
And if you've got a thing you just need to really address with this episode, comment.
Yeah. And stay tuned for the topic on the new Axis powers.
Yep. Moving forward.
At World War III.
All right.
Bye, guys.